Hello, welcome back to my channel. In this video, I'm going to be showing you how to make deliciously crunchy chin chin. If you've had issues with soggy chin chin or chin chin soaking up oil or just not being as crunchy as you'd like it, I'm going to show you how to get it right. So if you want to see that, keep watching and don't forget to like the video, subscribe to my channel and also enable notifications. Alright, so first of all you need 500 grams of plain flour. So stop here. This is the first tip of the video. Use plain flour, not self-raising flour, because if you use self-raising, your chin chin will be like a cake and it won't be crunchy at all. It'll be quite soft and it might actually soak up some oil as well. So avoid self-raising flour, use plain flour. And next we need 100 grams of butter. So here's another tip. If you're getting chin chin that is soaking up a lot of oil, it's very likely because you have too much butter in it. And of course, if you have too little butter, your chin chin won't be as nice. So it's important to keep the balance of butter right. Then I have 150 grams of sugar. Then I have 70 grams of powdered milk. So here's another tip. The more milk you have in your chin chin, the harder and hence the more crunchy your chin chin will be. And of course, if you don't add any milk, you have softer chin chin. And you can also use whole milk or even evaporated milk rather than the powdered milk that I've used. And here I have 1 teaspoon of salt, 1 teaspoon of baking powder, and 1 teaspoon of nutmeg. So here is another tip. The baking powder is used to make the chin chin more crumbly, and if you don't want to add that, it's absolutely fine. It gives you a more crunchy and snappy chin chin. I like to keep the baking powder at a minimum, so you can actually even add less than 1 teaspoon of baking powder. If you add any more baking powder than this, you might find that your chin chin might become really soft and just not as crunchy. I have 1 egg. So another tip, the egg also adds to how hard and crunchy your chin chin is. Some people don't add any egg and that's absolutely fine, but I like to add an egg. And lastly, I'm going to add some vanilla just for some flavor. Okay, so now getting started, I'm just going to add all my dry ingredients together. So that's the flour, the baking powder, salt, and nutmeg. The sugar and the milk powder as well. And I'm just going to mix that all together. And then I added my butter and then I went ahead and mixed that together with my hands until all the butter was incorporated and rubbed into the flour. This is the type of texture that you want to achieve once you're done. Then I went ahead and added my egg. And then my 1 teaspoon of vanilla. So now you'll find that you need some water to bring the whole thing together. But here's another tip. Don't add too much water to your mixture. You only need enough to bring it together into a dough. But if you add too much water to it, you'll find that your chin chin won't be as crunchy when you fry it. It won't necessarily soak in a lot of oil. However, it will just have a soft texture and not crunchy, and of course you want your chin chin to be crunchy. So as soon as you see that your dough has come together, stop adding water and just knead the whole thing into a smooth dough, just like you see me doing here. You only need to mix the dough till it's all combined together and you end up with a lovely smooth dough. So, I mean, it's not like you need to knead it for like 10 minutes or something. Just about 3 to 5 minutes is more than enough. So once your chin chin dough is ready, it's a good idea to go and turn on your oil before cutting up your shapes for the chin chin, because you don't want to leave those sitting about for too long after you've cut it. The reason being, if you leave them sitting after you've already cut the chin chin shapes, they'll just kind of melt back together and they'll stick together, and then it'll be difficult to separate them. So I guess there's another tip. So here I'm rolling out my chin chin dough. So you really just want to roll it out flat to about half a centimeter in thickness. So once I was satisfied with that, it was time to cut up my chin chin into my preferred shapes. Of course, you can cut it to any shape that you prefer, but what I would say here is, as you can see, I'm using a pizza slicer or a pizza cutter. Let me tell you, this tool is a lifesaver when it comes to cutting chin chin, because it makes it so much faster than just using a standard knife. So if you can get your hands on one of these for doing this, I would 100% recommend it. I mean, look at how quickly I got that done. If you were using a knife for this, you would be spending like 20 minutes trying to cut this all up, but I did this in like what, 5 minutes. So once I had my chin chin all nicely cut into the shapes, I transferred them onto a plate to go away to be fried. Don't worry about trying to separate these too much, because they will separate very well in the oil while they are frying. Of course, make sure that your oil is nice and hot before transferring your chin chin in. Otherwise, you'll just end up with oily chin chin and then you'll be very sad. So make sure that your heat is on medium heat, by the way. Of course, if you have your heat too high, then your chin chin will just burn as well. Another important thing that I would say is that after about 30 seconds, when you've put your chin chin in the oil, make sure that you do go ahead and stir your chin chin very regularly, like I'm doing here, because if you leave them sitting there, they won't cook evenly. By doing this, you are allowing them to cook nice and evenly all around, and you're not finding that, some parts are burnt, and it gradually gets nice and golden brown until they are done and crunchy and delicious. Once you see that they are nice and brown, you can go ahead and take them out of the oil and just put them onto a nice flat tray on some tissue paper to soak up any excess oil. So I should mention that you need to put them on a flat surface and space them out so that they'll air out and become nice and crunchy. If you're wondering, yes, they were very crunchy and they did taste really good. Now, let me show you how to do the baked version. So I have a baking tray there with some greaseproof paper on top of it, and I'm just going to lay my chin chin on it individually. So you want to lay them all flat because you need them to cook evenly together. And of course, I should mention that before this, I turned on my oven to 180 degrees to preheat for about 10 minutes before putting these in the oven. And there they go. So here is the chin chin after about 10 to 15 minutes in the oven. Of course, the length of time that it will take to cook depends on the strength of your oven. So it's important that you keep an eye to ensure that it's not burning. And also, I should mention, you don't need to flip this over to cook on both sides. Both sides will cook together just with the one time in the oven. So there is the baked chin chin. You don't even have to hear that snap, you can see it, and it tasted really, really good as well. And actually, if you asked me to choose between baked chin chin and fried chin chin, I think I would have to choose baked chin chin. I mean, it tastes great and it's healthier, but the fried chin chin is definitely really good as well. So here is a recap of the tips I gave in this video for successful chin chin making. Do not use self-raising flour, use plain flour, because if you use self-raising flour, you'll find that your chin chin will be like cake, and that's no good. And use a small amount of butter. Don't use excess butter, because if you do, your chin chin will soak in too much oil. And then use milk if you want a really crunchy chin chin. Baking powder is also going to cause your chin chin to be like cake if you add too much, but people like to add some baking powder because it gives a crumbly texture to the chin chin. Eggs also cause your chin chin to be on the harder side, so if you want that, add an egg. And water. Don't add too much water because your chin chin will be too soft if you have too much water in it. And lastly, before you fry your chin chin and after you've cut it all up, do not leave it sitting about, because otherwise they'll just stick together and then it will be difficult to separate them up after that. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I hope that you've enjoyed it and you've picked up some really useful tips and tricks to get chin chin that you're 100% happy with. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to put some comments underneath the video and I will answer you as soon as possible. And don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel, please. Thank you very much. Bye.